I just want to share with you guys an experience that the most important experience that I've experienced. So Romans 5:1 says that, therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. So the late Dr. Jim Scott has defined justification this way, that it is being taken as though you are just like. So in other words, God treats Christ as I deserve to be treated, and God treats me as Christ deserves to be treated. This verse talks about that you are justified by faith. And after that, you have peace with God. I experienced this on July 15th, 2004. This was a time basically I just moved to California with my wife, and I didn't have a job here. My wife had a job, and there's nothing I can do at home, so I just basically searched the internet for gospel stuff, and I found Dr. Jim Scott, which actually I actually knew about him I think like about 10 years earlier. But in any event, I didn't go with him because at the same time I discovered C.S. Lewis, which happens to be a much more respected person, so I just go with him. But I always thought, here's a very, very interesting guy. He's got something to say, and I never really forgot about him. So when I was here in California, I had no idea he actually was located here. He was actually on TV, and I find him on the internet as well, and I find that he has a lot of past sermons that was on the internet, so I listened to them. I had nothing to do, so I searched, under every subject that I wanted to have a question about. And so eventually I get to a point where I realized faith was very, very important. I need to trust God, and I always knew that, but he was making the point that the trust was so important. And so basically I was going about two ways. I was still trying to make it on my own, through my own efforts, trying to be the best person I can, through works basically. And then in the meantime, I also very faithfully trusting. But there was one very critical sermon that I found on the internet from Dr. Jim Scott, and I found out that all this time that I've been joking with myself, I've been fooling myself, that when I was just trying to be good, trying to earn credit towards God, I wasn't really doing it. It didn't really count. I mean, the Bible says our righteousness is filthy rags, and that was actually true. The only thing that ever really counted was when I trusted God. And what that particular sermon did from Dr. Jim Scott to me was it pointed out my own self-righteousness. And I realized that I didn't know that I was basing on my own self-righteousness as how I was trying to get to God. And at that moment I just realized, okay, that's it. It's no more that. Faith was the only way. And I remember I started to write a paper trying to memorize this. Within just seconds of I starting to write this, I don't know what happened. Just the Holy Spirit just crashed in on my body, and I would just completely taken over by surprise. I have no idea what's happening. I was sobbing like crazy, and all of a sudden, after a period, I don't know how long, it comes in spasms, and maybe about 3 or 4 minutes of this, 5 minutes of this, it cooled down, calmed down. And that's when I realized that what he's saying here is absolutely true. I didn't read the Bible just at that time, so I actually had to research more to find out what was happening to me. But so at the time, it was complete peace. that every struggle, there was no more struggle. There was no more nothing. It was, that's it. I'm at ease with the universe. Everything was fine. So later on, I searched through additional authors such as escape me now. This guy's name. Anyway, I've got. Anyway, he actually wrote a book called the Two Covenants, which kind of explained to me what was happening to me. But anyway, the point I want to make out is that this is a real peace that you experience. It is an eternal peace. It doesn't say that here. It just says peace with God, but it's actually eternal peace. When you experience it, you realize that's it. It lasts forever. You have peace complete with God. That's it. So you know, the hymn by Horatio Spafford, I believe it's called "It Is Well With My Soul." There's a phrase that says, "Thou wilt whisper thy peace to my soul." Yes, it is true. It is a whisper, but when you experience it, it is real. But you have it. You know, I live in the temporal world, so you have it, and then pretty soon real life comes in. Then you forgot about it. You don't know about it. The next day, you do the same thing again. You sing the song, you try to praise Him, and the Holy Spirit comes again, and you see it again. So it's kind of like that. But I mean, we struggle daily, you know, trying to one foot in the spiritual, one foot in reality. So we're trying to balance that. Yeah, go ahead and pass it on. So, you know, I found out that Jesus Christ said the same thing in Matthew. In Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. After Jesus Christ's resurrection, on that same day, He visited a few people, and then in the evening He visited 11 of the disciples in the upper room. And was recorded in John 20 and 19. So John 20, verse 19. Then the same day, at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, came Jesus and stood in the midst and says unto them, Peace be unto you. Again, this was recorded in Luke 24:36. And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them and says unto them, Peace be unto you. This is the peace of salvation. This is the peace of justification. This is the peace of redemption. Jesus Christ talking to me peace, but here He's simply talking about the peace that we experience through salvation. Now, as life goes on, my job actually gets better and better. I get better at pay. Of course, with more pay, you get more pressure to more projects, and you have less time for God. And so, all that become something that it's in your memory, but it's not in your immediate experience anymore. But occasionally I do still have to take time out and just dedicate it to God on Sundays. And thank God I still experience the same experience. But those come more and more rare. So it becomes much more precious. So when it happens again, I remember most time when it happens, if my son is actually in the room, I would just call him over. He has no idea what's going on. I just call him my special voice. He always runs over because there's no why I am calling him. I just give him a big hug because I think that's the only way that I can really express how I feel at that time, that peace that I experience. So now you know, Clyde, why I call you and give a big hug for no reason. I want to share with you, the truth concerning the spiritual world has to be seen spiritually. Says, but the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. In Ephesians 4:18, starting from 4:17, it talks about the Gentiles. This I say therefore, and testify in the Lord, that ye henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart. It is through the heart that we come to believe. Now, Jesus Christ I think it's in Corinthians, where Paul says he received this vision from Jesus Christ about the Last Supper, and he was telling disciples what Jesus Christ did at the Last Supper. And Jesus Christ says that at the end, it says that do this as often as you eat and drink. So actually, Jesus Christ did one more time eat after the resurrection with the disciple. And this was recorded in Luke. Luke 24:13. This was two of the disciples that on that day that Jesus Christ resurrected, and Mary Magdalene saw him, and then a whole bunch of the Peter went there, and then these two disciples heard of their story, and they don't really believe it, and they were on their way leaving Jerusalem back to their home. And on the way to their home, they were talking about what happened that day, and all of a sudden, in verse 15, Luke 24:15, and it came to pass that while they commuted together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden, that they should not know him. Now the word holden just means it was restrained, it was held. Probably because of their disbelief at that moment. Mark says that Jesus Christ appeared in a different form to them. But certainly at this point, they did not have spiritual eyes to discern that the fellow that was walking with him was actually Jesus Christ. So we continue, and he said unto them, Jesus Christ says unto them, what manner of communication are these that ye have one to another, as ye walk and are so sad. So Jesus Christ saying, why are you so sad? What are you guys talking about? And they say, well, you know, are you a stranger in Jerusalem that he doesn't know what happened? You know, and he said unto them, and Jesus Christ said unto them, no, what things? I don't know what things, what happened? And so they told him about the story of Jesus Christ in Nazareth, and how he was a prophet, and how he was crucified, and everything. And then Jesus Christ then say to them, O fools, and slow of heart to believe all that prophet have spoken. Ought not Christ to have suffered these things and to enter his glory? And then Jesus Christ preached to these two disciples again the story beginning from Moses and all the prophets. Actually, at this point, they still did not see that it was Jesus Christ. But later on, towards the end of the evening, Jesus Christ appeared to make a motion that he was leaving, and then the two disciples says, well, why don't you just come back with us to the house and have supper with us? And so we pick up verse 30, and it came to pass as Jesus Christ, sat at meat with them, he took bread and blessed it and brake and gave it to them. And verse 31 says, and their eyes were opened and they knew him, and then he vanished out of sight. Jesus Christ disappeared. So I think this is a very, very dramatic exit by Jesus Christ. I think it serves to remind us that Christ meant for this meal to be very, very important. That it's meant to remind us who he is and what he's all about, and that he actually died for us. So as we take the broken bread, let's see with spiritual eyes and know what Jesus Christ has done for us in sacrificing his life for us. Take it away. We have peace in God through Jesus Christ, but of course it is through his sacrifice, through his blood. And this cup is in his blood. So